But don't worry, guys. The people that made our country are very smart. They are. Okay, people thought about these problems a long time ago. And they came up with a fairly good solution. Canada is a constitutional monarchy. We've got 3 different branches of government. We've got the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. The legislative writes the legislation, the executive executes the legislation, and the judicial branch interprets the legislation. And that's underneath our monarch, King Charles. But there's a 4th branch of government that doesn't get talked about as much as it needs to, and that's the administrative branch, in the gray. And that consists of the civil service, private companies, consultants, special interests, unions, all the things that Justin was showing us at the beginning. Doesn't matter who you elect into the government, those people are always there. They're the ones that are actually doing the work for the government. And if they're aligned in a certain direction, then the work is going to be aligned in that direction. So imagine if you had a overarching plan to align the entire world on social, economic, and environmental factors. You wanted to build utopia on Earth and wipe out poverty, but you need to get all the governments and all the different countries and all the different cultures around the world. How are you going to do that? Because there's all this pesky stuff that we put in our Western societies, separation and division of powers of the government, like I just showed you. Well, you're going to have to work in the gray. And that's what the United Nations does. So what they could do is they could bypass 3 levels of government, go directly to the employees. They could work with trainings and associations, train those employees on their values and what they want to do. They can work through the unions, get the unions to push their values. Public-private partnerships. This could be good, it could be bad. One example is if there's something that's prevented, the government's prevented from doing legislatively, what they'll do is they'll give money to an NGO and have private meetings with the NGO and explain to them what they want to get done, and then the NGO executes that, and then the government says, well, we can't tell them what to do, they're private. It's a private-public partnership. We have no control. Do you guys see the potential for abuse there? And then, of course, we have our corporate partnerships, and a lot of our economic and social infrastructure in Canada is privately owned. So if people are sitting in closed rooms discussing things, you can see that there's an opportunity for outcomes to be affected. So it could be good or bad. Some examples in Kamloops, and these are just like the 3 base ones. There's literally hundreds, like Justin was showing us. We've got the LGMA, which is the Local Government Management Association. This is their monthly book that they send out to the city of Kamloops, and they're a legitimate organization. They provide training and networking for government employees. It's a complicated job. I understand the need for it, but if you read through here, you're going to see the word climate, 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 climate about 150 times. So they seem to be aligned in a certain direction. We've got the Union of BC Municipalities. It actually appears once or twice in our legislation, but it is an NGO, just like the LGMA is, and just like the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Now, all of our representatives were just at the UBCM for a week, and a lot of people would be surprised if you actually go through, and I highly recommend you do, is read the resolutions that came out of that. What did they advocate for? This is just a couple examples, and I'm not taking a position on any of them, I'm just giving them as an example. So they want to put in traffic cameras. They want municipalities to have the ability to put in traffic cameras. They want to continue the safe drug supply, harm reduction. Very controversial subject. There's arguments on both sides of it, okay? But this is coming from the UBCM. It's not just coming from the provincial government. They want to tax empty houses. How are they going to know that the houses are empty? And they want to give the authority for diking. This is probably something to do with the big flood that happened in the Lower Mainland, but they want to give the authority back to the provincial government. Now, to those of you who live out in Westside, if I was living in the low-lying areas or on the North Shore behind the dike, I would be a little bit worried now that that's in the hands of the provincial government. I'd much rather have that here in Kamloops. And here's another example that came out of the UBCM. They said they're having a crime wave in Maple Ridge, so they want more money to hire more judges. Can you guys, I don't know if you can see that in the yellow, it says something, it's a term, it says restorative justice. I won't get into that, but you should write that down and Google it. Do some research on that.
Wow.
You'd be shocked. Last presentation, we talked about how there was a meeting in 1992. It was the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. And the FCM, this is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, who supposedly is our national voice for local governments, put out a report, and they're saying that we need to think globally and act locally. That's what it says at the bottom there, for those of you who can't read it. So what do they say today in 2023? This is, I took this from About on their website, and the first point they say, local solutions are key to tackling national and global challenges. Kind of sounds a lot like thinking globally, act locally. And now in second place, it says the national voice for local governments. So at the very least, I can factually say that the FCM has reordered their priorities, at the very least. But I'll go one step further and I'll say that they are actually advocating for international values. And it's easy to see. So they are a local voice for international governments. These are all their programs on their website. Those little green arrows, I'll read them out for you. They say SDGs, stands for Sustainable Development Goals. On the top left, that's the Green Municipal Fund. That's $1.5 billion for sustainable development. The yellow one is the Municipal Asset Management. It's a very sneaky way of doing sustainable development. They make the asset manager do everything through the lens of sustainable development, so they take care of the guy with the purse strings. Municipalities for climate change, equality, and then there's one on the right is all international programs. This is supposed to represent Canadian municipalities. And at the very bottom there, it says Partners for Climate Protection and the Global Covenant of Mayors. So I guess my question is, I'm not in the FCM, I'm not a member of municipal government, but just looking at it, it looks like it's all about sustainable development. And my questions are, where's the Clean Drinking Water Fund? Where's the Sewage Treatment Fund? Where's the Roads, Bridges, and Infrastructure Fund? Where's the Build New Parks and Put in New Playgrounds for the Kids Fund? Where's the Provide Money for Babysitting Fund? Where's all the stuff that you would think the municipal government would probably be involved in? It doesn't exist on here. It's all sustainable development. And if we look a little bit deeper into the FCM, they have a program called PCP, Partners for Climate Protection, and it is partnered with a group called ICLEI. ICLEI is an international NGO. Sorry you guys can't read this, but I'll read it out to you. It says that the PCP program receives financial support from the Government of Canada and ICLEI Canada. So who is ICLEI? ICLEI stands for the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives. That's what it used to stand for. They've since changed that name. Okay, it's an international NGO. It's funded by the United Nations. They've got an international one, an American one, a Canadian one. It's all over the world. They get money, and then they give money to the FCM, and then the FCM does, I guess, what they want, or because our values are aligned with them somehow. Okay, it was formed in 1990 at the United Nations during the World Congress of Local Governments. And in 2003, even these guys realized that their name, because they were the International Council for Local Environmental Work, they had to change their name, and they changed it to Governments for Sustainability, because they knew that there's a broader mandate under sustainable development. It's not just about the environment. They had to change their name. This is their founding document. So if you ever see me talking in City Council or talking about what the Climate Action Plan really is, I tell everybody that it's going to be radical change of our life and society and our economy, because it has to be. That's what the plan's calling for. This is in the first paragraph of the document that founded ICLEI. It says, local governments must begin to restructure social and economic life at the local level because of the environment. We can go on. It says there's a growing recognition that global environmental problems can only be solved through restructuring human society. Okay, these aren't small changes. These are big moves, just like it says in the Climate Action Plan. And this is a map of all their membership, spreads all the way across the world. And it's actually secret, just like, because we're a private association, our membership is secret, so are they. They got nothing to do with the government, even though they got money from the government. Their membership is a secret. Although we do know for a fact that some councillors at some point and employees have been going back and forth with Higley. We don't know the status of their memberships though.